I feel like I live on a limited attention budget. It's usually very high in the morning, and that's only if I don't check my phone right away. But if I do, if I open my eyes and the very first thing I grab is my phone, I end up spending a huge chunk of this finite budget on the demands of the external world. Now, these demands come in various forms. They come in the form of work emails, texts from friends and family members who live in different time zones, reminders of all things important and necessary for the rest of the day, anything and everything that demands a portion of my attention budget. Now, these are essential parts of my life and I cannot do without them, because I do need to check my work emails and I do need to reply to them at some point during the day. And I also need to respond to my family and friends and maintain that healthy relationship. And all of that is necessary. But the problem is that these minute tasks that I haven't even performed yet have already taken away my attention first thing in the morning. And in return, they have given me this anxiety of needing to respond to them, because this anxiety stems from me knowing that I need to take action, and at the same time, it's my inability to take action right away. I know I cannot reply to my work email until I open my laptop and gather all the information. And I also know that I only have half the information from a friend about a certain event, and my mind is trying to, often negatively, fill out the rest of the information. So that gap between the time I receive the information and until I get to act on it is often filled with anxious thoughts. It's packed with questions, assumptions, apprehensions, urgency, doubt, frustration, sometimes even anger. And that's how my day has started. It has started with me exposing my attention budget to the various risks that are caused by the volatile nature of my mind. So to elaborate on that analogy further, think of your attention and the distractions of the world like your money and the market. So basically, you will always be tempted by infinite number of distractions during the day, but then you only have a limited attention budget. So you should spend it on things that you really need, things that really serve you. And there are some unavoidable distractions like fluctuating emotional states caused by work and social relationships that will always consume your attention, and that's okay because it's part of your life. But it becomes a problem when we spend our finite attention resources splurging on things that not only don't quite serve us but also make us poorer, because A, they are not related to the tasks that we need to perform throughout the day, and B, because they linger on for a very long time. Because every time you try to bring your attention to your primary task at hand, you are reminded of that friend's social media post that made you feel a certain way, or that piece of news that triggered you, or the new celebrity gossip that's been really entertaining. I mean, it's an endless vortex of just constant distractions. And if you mindlessly keep shopping around with this precious finite resource that you get at the start of the day, you will always live in an impoverished attentive state. You will always have a poor attention bank balance, which then means that you would not be able to spend it on things that actually do matter, things like your job and your health and your relationships. You may identify problems everywhere, but you may not have enough cognitive wealth to solve them. In the book AttentionSpan, Gloria Marx says that an average worker in today's digital age switches their attention every 47 seconds. They jump from one application to another or from one task to another every minute. And there's not one single reason why this happens. It happens because we get bored easily and feel the need to stimulate us constantly. We also do this because we have been doing it for so long that it's now an ingrained habit. So we do it without even thinking about it. It also happens because we live on autopilot, just consuming everything that is served to us. And she classifies this state as the rote state, where we are challenged but not highly engaged. So basically, if we were to take challenge and engagement as two major factors between which our attention fluctuates, we will have 4 different variations of it. The first one would be a highly engaged and a highly challenged state. Here we are doing tasks with an achievable level of difficulty. This is where we can also find our flow. Then we would have a highly engaged but a less challenged state. This is where we can get sucked in the infinite scroll of social media, where we are not intentional about what we are watching and what we are consuming. Everything is chosen by the platform for us. And the third state is where we are highly challenged but less engaged, where we get frustrated because we are trying to learn a new skill of some sort. And then there is this fourth state, which is a low challenging and a low engagement state that results in boredom. like doing your laundry and other chores. Now, each of these states serve a different purpose, and they're all needed to maintain that nice rhythm of attention. But I think the problem lies in us not really being intentional or mindful about what we're trying to do. It lies in us not being able to understand the nature of our own mind that constantly seeks distraction. And because we identify with our mind so much, we start living on autopilot. We forget to pause and breathe in that gap between when we are stimulated and when we respond to it. We just impulsively do the thing that we think of. We click on every notification, every email as soon as they arrive. We start checking entertainment apps as soon as we have a random thought about them during the day. When we are doing all of this, we are basically forgetting the fact that we do have the autonomy and the ability to not act this way. We have the ability to resist that temptation, because sometimes there is some value in that kind of an engagement, but most of the times there's nothing in it. It's just a hollow experience. And this intentionally designed slot machine-like algorithmic nature of these applications makes us keep coming back to them. It makes us keep gambling with our finite attention currency. But most importantly, this constant rupturing of our attention rhythm pulls us out of our focus state. And the science says that it takes us about 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get back to that state again after we have been distracted. So then, how expensive are these distractions if each one of them cause you almost 20 minutes of your focus time, and if you are also distracted every 47 seconds? How impoverished are we if we aren't safeguarding our attention from the insidious encroachment of digital distractions? Because if you think about it, we aren't only spending our attention on distractions, but also spending it on fighting the urges of distraction. In the book Stolen Focus, the author argues that we aren't this, new age digital society that's somehow magically and unfortunately all of a sudden, forgotten to focus. But it's almost as if the ability to focus has been stolen from us. It has been stolen by the carefully designed digital algorithms, by the kind of nutrient deficient processed food we eat, by the negativity in the news that keeps us perpetually anxious, by the chronic sleep deprivation that's caused due to demanding fast-paced society, by the pollution that causes brain fog. Basically, there are about a dozen major factors that play a huge role in all of this. And he suggests some sensible but obvious things like, monotasking, resisting temptations, finding that flow state, etc., to combat distractions, but then also using the technology itself to fight it. And I think that's a great point, because while smartphones notify us about, almost everything that's happening in the world, they also give us the ability to block notifications. They also give us the ability to use focus mode, to delete or restrict applications, to practice mindfulness. So the technology in itself is a very neutral force, but the true power lies in our ability to use it wisely. But I still think those are just some ways to treat the symptoms of this disease, because they don't really fix the core issues. Because we need to evaluate the fundamentals and see why we are the way we are. And the answer is that our mind is like this. It is our number one enemy and our number one friend. But I think it can also be tamed with practice and all the available tools. But also if we give it a new framework, a new perspective, something that makes it see its own problems and controls. And that's why I like to think of attention as a finite resource. A finite resource that needs to be spent wisely. Because just like with your money, if you aren't careful, you may end up spending all of it on, everything that is marketed to you, and then you may end up being broke. The same way, if you aren't careful with your attention, you may end up spending it on every distraction that comes your way and remain cognitively poor. And once you start looking at your current life through this framework, you will realize that your attention stretches or shrinks with your own ability to get tempted or resist temptations. So I guess to manage your attention wisely, you would need to look at this as precious earnings. And so how do you earn it? You earn it when your mind is quiet, while you're sleeping or resting or living your life mindfully. And once you understand that, you also need to cap your spending. You need to divert it towards mindful activities that makes it grow. And all of that is achievable when you start paying attention to where you are paying your attention. So that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, I have some other similar videos on my channel, and I will see you next time.